Hi, so in this presentation, I want to talk about Invisible Women by Carolyn Criado Perez. So, Invisible Women is a compilation of studies and statistics and stories that talk about how women are sidelined in our society. Women are sidelined in our society because men have historically created the systems and things that we use today. So, historically they've either purposefully excluded women from those things or simply not thought about women when creating those things, or they simply did not understand women's experience, so they did not include their input into the things and systems they created. One of the things that shows this lack of self-awareness the best is the chapter Can Snow Shoveling Be Sexist? So in Karlskoga, a town in Sweden, a group of officials had to look at every single policy of the town through a gender lens to see if there was any sign of gender bias. One official joked that at least the gender people would get their noses out of snow shoveling. But the thing is that when the committee looked into snow shoveling policies, they realized that the lack of proper snow shoveling was disproportionately affecting women. The thing is that men and women travel differently. Women walk a lot more than men. So when there is no proper snow shoveling or salting of the streets, or clearing of the streets, most of the injuries turn out to be women. So that is one of the chapters that showed this lack of awareness that gender bias can be included in every single little thing in our lives if we don't investigate it. One of the other interesting chapters that talked about this lack of self-awareness that men have around daily things is the lack of security that there's around bathrooms. So toilets can be very dangerous for women, and that is why a lot of women actually refuse to go to the toilet throughout the day, mainly because they don't feel safe. So women in general just biologically require a lot more trips to the bathroom, and according to the UN, 1 in 3 women lack access or safe access to toilets. So for example, in Afghanistan, women police officers go to the bathroom in pairs because bathrooms in Afghanistan have been dubbed or have been described as harassment sites. So basically, women are scared of being sexually harassed when they go to the bathroom. Sometimes the doors in the bathroom lack locks, and sometimes there are peepholes, so anyone can look at what someone is doing, and obviously that is a very unpleasant experience and something that nobody would like to go through in their workplace. So that is actually why some police officers or some women refuse to join the workforce at all, and that obviously impacts the way that crimes against women and girls are dealt with if you have a police force that is only composed of men. So the book also talked about what women have done to respond to these kinds of gender biases in daily life. So one of those instances was the Long Friday. In October 24th, 1975, women in Iceland decided to teach men a lesson, so they refused to do any kind of paid work, any cleaning, any cooking, and any childcare, just to see if men could deal with that kind of situation. 90% of the women in Iceland participated in protests instead of working that day. And a year later, in 1976, Iceland passed the Gender Equality Act, which outlawed sex discrimination in workplaces and schools. In 2017, the country topped the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index for the 8th year in a run. So this obviously shows that women do protest those kinds of things. But I think that my biggest takeaway from this book is that it is very difficult for men to see what women go through. And I think the biggest question that we should answer is, how can we communicate our experience better to men? Obviously, there will be men who simply will not hear women out, but I do believe that there are a lot of men out there who are interested in making the world more equitable. I do think that it is kind of something that we women have to take up on ourselves, because I highly doubt that men are going to take it up on themselves to raise awareness about all of these issues, especially when they're completely unaware that this is something that happens to women. So I think that unfortunately the onus does fall on us to raise awareness about these things. I do think that the book was very good and very informative, but I think it was slightly accusatory in some instances. Obviously, it does point out certain mistakes on the part of men when they're not really using common sense to really think about what women go through, and if they just use the tiniest little amount of common sense, they would realize that probably what they're doing, what they're creating, is going to disproportionately affect women in a negative way. But I think that conversations have to be had with men in a non-accusatory way, because men are obviously part of the solution since we live together, and they will always be part of our community and our society. So accusing them and alienating them and guilting them, I think, would just push them aside rather than have them willingly collaborate with women to find solutions to improve the status of women in society. So yeah, that is my presentation, and I hope you liked it.